Is it easy to adapt from a life on the limit to being a sort of an entrepreneur and businessman?
Well, I think we're pretty well on the limit now, fitting everything in. No, it is very different, but I had more time, strange enough, when I was racing around the world driving with Formula One than I do now as sort of a businessman type thing. Fitting everything in is the biggest problem. The biggest enemy we have is time.
Now, last year, Michael Schumacher went past your record of 31 Grand Prix wins to become the highest scorer in history. What were your feelings as you watched...
The third highest scorer.
Third highest scorer in history. What were your feelings as you watched Michael just pass that record?
I think that's great. I mean, you know, we're still the fourth now, but we're still the winning most driver ever in the history of this country, which is good. But records are set there as targets. And, you know, I wish Michael well to go on, as I do with Damon this year and a number of others.
What was your view of the racing last year?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't really want to pass any comments other than the fact that I think, you know, Mika did a fantastic job. I think the McLaren team did a terrific job, and Mercedes wholly deserved their first World Championship for a long time.
Let's talk about Mika for a second, because you drove alongside him, of course, briefly in 1995 at McLaren. What do you think of the driver he's now become?
Yeah, I mean, Mika has evolved as a driver, I think. I think he himself has actually said that he's much better than he was. And I think he's done a terrific job, and I think this year is going to be very interesting because I think he'll be much, much stronger in 99 than he was in 98.
Now, you were a Ferrari driver the last time that they had a decent tilt at the world title back in 1990. What's it feel like to be carrying that level of expectation, Ferrari's challenge for a championship?
Yeah, well, I think it's very exciting. I think that's what you're paid to do. And I think in some ways, when you're competitive, it's easier to carry that challenge than it is when you're not competitive. When you're not competitive, it's sometimes tougher, it's frustrating. So I think Ferrari will be very strong this year, and you know, they've been runner-up, they've been bridesmaid for the last few years. They certainly, I don't think there's anyone in the pit lane, probably including, you know, McLaren, Williams, and all the top teams. They wouldn't begrudge Ferrari winning the World Championship again, but there's probably a lot of people out there that are trying to be beating them, and certainly Mercedes, McLaren, you know, with Mika and David driving for them, will be trying to do exactly that. Michael and Eddie will be trying to win for Ferrari, as with a lot of other drivers driving for the other manufacturers trying to win.
I've been struck by the fact that there are a lot of similarities between yourself and Michael Schumacher. You both came from having no money, having to really fight to get recognition and to climb up the ladder and achieving the goals and being real fighters. Do you see similarities between yourself and him?
Well, I've never, I put it this way, I think the similarity I see in Michael, perhaps with myself, is that he's a racer. Yeah. You know, he races, he charges very hard, and, you know, he gives it his best. As did Ayrton, as did myself, and as did a whole number of other drivers before our era.
And will we see you, do you think, at a Grand Prix circuit at all in 1999?
Oh, I think hopefully in 1999 we'll be popping up somewhere. There's a few things going on in the background, but hopefully I'll be certainly at the British Grand Prix, I hope.
And behind the wheel again?
Well, you never know. I mean, I've learnt over the years, you don't say anything. Make no predictions, then whatever happens is good. It's a nice surprise.
Well, that's all we've got time for now, but don't forget you can watch the Australian Grand Prix live on ITV at 2 o'clock tomorrow morning. And don't worry, if you fall asleep, it's on again at 11 a.m.
And there's also the highlights at 11:45. Stay tuned for Murray and Martin coming up next. In the meantime, we leave you with Ferrari's Holiday on Ice.
If you would like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by F1 Racing Magazine is